in the red bathing cap. The girl in the red bathing cap and the matching red one piece runs down the board and arches into a perfect dive over and over on the neon sign between the hotel and the restaurant. Dad eats a half fried chicken. Mama has a BLT. My brother and I eat fancy hamburgers. We can afford it because Daddy is on a work trip making lots of money. Life is good, even though hard times are always only a couple of weeks away. When life is good, we forget the hard times, the baked potatoes 3 nights per week, where Mama makes fried chicken and only Daddy gets a piece or two each night to keep his strength up for his next job. And we all crowd in to the bench on the old Dodge pickup and ride 400 miles or so to where work is now. Today, the hard times are a long way. I admire the arch, while my older brother admires the one piece, and the hamburgers are good. Somehow, and not often, but this morning's coffee reminds me of the smell of tannic acid, the smell that permeated so much of my childhood, but nowhere more than the little cottage out back of the Dan's place in West Helena, under the shade of the great pecans. My father worked daylight till dark, grafting wild pecans to Stewart's and other varieties, and often the kerosene stove was his evening workspace, dipping ends of scion wood in paraffin wax. His sweat in those days almost always smelled like dried pecan leaves. I loved that smell, mostly because it smelled like my daddy. So this morning, in the pre-dawn dark of my Tallahassee living room, I traveled to the kitchen of that tiny cabin between the Mississippi and White Rivers, where my mama cooked tacos and Sunday roast beef, and Daddy cooked wax, and the whole cottage smelled of pecan leaves and kerosene. Sometimes the best hot dog in California. Sometimes my hair is a mess, but I'm grateful to have it after chemo because it went away and came back different. And it's kind of funny looking, but I'm kind of funny looking. And I'm happy to be here and I'm happy it's here. So, the poem. Sometimes the best hot dog in California is in the 7-Eleven out on Newhall Ranch Road at 4 a.m., a roller dog with pitiful packets of onions and relish and mustard that gets more on your fingers than on the dog, served up in the little folding box with a cellophane window so the cashier can be sure how much to charge you. $2.49 ain't bad for California. Sometimes the condiment trays are topped off and you can have salsa or jalapenos and chopped onions and more. But at 4 a.m., you're just glad to see that little dog going around. And if I can get to it, I'll read you the title poem for this collection called Rag Baloney. It's actually in here twice because I wrote it and my wife decided it was kind of long and it ought to be cleaned up. So I wrote a cleaned up version, but I'm still fonder of the long version. So that's what you get to suffer through is my long version. Dang it, I had it marked, but somehow or another I let the little mark get away. Here we go. Thank you for your patience. I'm doing better. Rag Baloney. Today I made a bologna sandwich. I know it was bologna because that's what it said on the Oscar Mayer package. Original, no less. On keto wheat bread, and it was delicious. But it sent me on a journey to rural Alabama, where I grew up, and the poorly lit country grocery store with its "Colonial is good bread" sign on the door, and where we ordered so many pieces of rag bologna. cut to our thickness. I always went thick. And they had a loaf of colonial bread on the counter in 2 big jars, 1 mayo and 1 mustard, with 1 knife between them. Both jars had enough of what was supposed to be in the other jar to look a lot the same. I'm sure the health department would not approve, and my mama wouldn't either. But for eating, it was hard to beat. Peeling the waxed bit of linen cloth that made the case off and putting it between the dressed white bread. If I could go back to 1969, I would eat there again. Well, people, I got you one more poem picked out, but I can't find it. So why don't we call that enough for this session, and there'll be plenty more sessions to come. So thank you for listening.